Joining us right now on set, Democratic strategist Steve Murphy from New York. We also have Pulitzer Prize-winning author, fellow at the Manhattan Institute, and Fox News contributor Judy Miller. Good to see you, Steve. Thanks so much for joining the conversation. Your reaction to the speeches last night?
I thought it was a great night for the Democrats. You know, a little bit of excitement early on, which you would fully expect from Bernie Sanders supporters after a year-long campaign. They had every right to speak out loudly for their candidate. At the end of the night, I think we had a really strong, unified party.
Yeah, they sure were speaking out. Comedian Sarah Silverman, of course, also spoke, and she told the Bernie Sanders supporters how she really feels. She is a Sanders supporter. Listen to this.
Can I just say to the Bernie or bust people, you're being ridiculous.
You know, even though you expected it, it was unexpected because they wouldn't quiet down.
What stood out to me was the fact that you had cheers outside of the arena and on the floor of the arena to lock her up. And that is that's something that you heard at the Republican convention. I thought that is how dug in these Sanders supporters are, and it raises the issue, and the polls are all over the place. Who do they vote for in November? Do they vote for Hillary Clinton? Because, again, great speeches don't make people who are loyal to one candidate go and vote for somebody else.
I agree with you. What I would add, though, is we're talking about activists here right now. This isn't the core of the base. These are people who show up at conventions. So they're going to be a little bit more enthusiastic, maybe a little bit wackier there. So, and, you know, the polling has slowly been shifting more towards unification. Pew has a recent poll out that it's only 10% down to 10% of Sanders supporters who aren't going to get behind Hillary, maybe about 15–20%. But I think that, you know, Donald Trump, if he really wants to make a case to these independent voters and these disenfranchised voters, especially the white working class, he's got to do a better job, because if the Democrats can be on point this week like they were last night, I think they are drawing a very strong contrast between what the two parties are offering.
One other point on the polls. So far, Hillary Clinton has been getting a higher percentage of Democratic voters than Donald Trump has of Republican voters. That's the way to determine party unification is, well, where are the voters? Yeah, as you point out, a few activists, you got to expect that. I mean, you saw it at the Republican convention
who are as enthusiastic maybe as people were decades ago when things got a little dicier.
There was a Bloomberg poll, though, that said that found in late June, that only 55% of Bernie Sanders supporters would vote for her and 22% would vote for Donald Trump. So the polls are all over the place.
They are all over the place. I feel a shift, or maybe I'm just excited about a potential shift.
You feel a shift. Judy Miller, weigh in here. What was your take last night?
Well, I was really amazed at how little brotherly love there was in the city of it. But given the tremendous split between centrists and progressives in the Democratic Party, and given the mess over the Debbie Wasserman Schultz emails and what it suggested about how Bernie Sanders had really been given the short end of the stick, I think given those two things, the convention was very successful day one for the Democrats, and that was in part, I think, thanks to Michelle Obama, who gave a really masterful speech that was aimed at being mom-in-chief. This is about our children. She managed to diss Donald Trump without ever mentioning his name by simply pointing out that issues are complicated, that they can't be reduced to 140 characters. She did what she had to do. While the Republicans have to expand their base, Democrats, being the majority party, just have to fire up theirs, and she did that.
Yeah, she sure did. I want to ask you about this one soundbite. We're going to play it later, but when Bernie Sanders was talking to his supporters, trying to quiet them down, I mean, he got such a long standing ovation. He also said, though, I look forward to the roll call. Now, Jessica, you think he was referring to Hillary, but why is he looking forward to the roll call? I assumed he was talking about, are they going to vote for him tonight with the roll call? What did you make of that, everybody?
I read it differently, but I read it that he wanted that it was okay, because it was okay that if they call out his name. But I think that I was on the fence about how to interpret that, because you had a completely different interpretation.
I did. I think that Bernie Sanders, basically, since he went to D.C. and met with other Senate Democrats. I actually think that was the tipping point for him, and not so much meeting with Hillary or with other officials. I think that once his colleagues said to him, we're going to lose if we don't come together here, that he has been on point and for unification here. And I don't think that he's going to use this week in any way to be the Ted Cruz spoiler on this side of things.
But the Republicans had a roll call vote for the nomination. That doesn't matter whatsoever, I don't think, if that happens.
No, it definitely wasn't an issue of whether he would win it or not, but I think that he was saying out there, you know, I look forward to seeing you get behind our candidate. He said over and over, I am proud to be with her, et cetera. And I just wanted to add, I think, you know, Michelle Obama's speech was earth-shattering to me. I mean, she really
the star of the night.
Totally the star of the night. And as you're listening to her, and I think it was important that she also mentioned that the White House was built by slaves, and when you pan to the audience and you see how diverse this convention is versus what happened last week, I think you really see the strength of the Democratic Party here and why Judy's completely correct. If they don't expand the base, you can't win an election anymore on white voters.
Yeah, not just star of the night, I think, but also star for the future.
These Democrats on this stage, and let's just say Elizabeth Warren's speech was at best a flop, particularly following the First Lady. It was she accomplished nothing other than regurgitating Democratic talking points in a very low energy way. I might add.
Yeah, Elizabeth Warren was. Yeah, no.
But these Democrats need to remember who they're talking to. There are 13 to 25% of voters who are undecided. Usually it's in the single digits right now. They're not talking to the audience. They have to play to the cameras. They have to play to the people sitting at home. We said that about Donald Trump last week. And if they forget that, they're going to lose in November.
Yeah, most number of undecided and independents in decades. Actually. Judy Miller, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Nice
Steve Murphy,
to see
thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
joining the conversation. We appreciate it.